Well, welcome to Open by Accident, probably the most unprofessional podcast you'll ever encounter on all of YouTube.
That's okay.
That's us.
That's us.
Brother.
Brothers.
Hey, I'm Matt.
I'm Nick.
I'm Jeff.
And this is the oldest brother.
Yeah, I'm the oldest brother. As of today, I am.
The only oldest brother.
I'm the only oldest brother.
So we thought it'd be kind of fun to sneak back in here with a podcast. We're experimenting with video. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about the growth of the YouTube channel. Jeff and I have been dying to get back on this subject of talking about rental stores as well as our experiences and more specifically kind of diving into wrestling, because I think both him and I had a lot of experience renting old wrestling VHS tapes back in the day. And of course, kind of like our video gaming rentals, that sort of thing. I know that we maybe we did this on the podcast some time ago.
I know we had talked a few things on hitting this topic a few times on our joint thing we did back.
Back.
We didn't go into depth with it like we had been before.
So, Nick, why don't you get us kind of started off? Do you have like a first experience of renting a video game, or just even a fond experience?
Oh yeah, and I mean that's where we kind of went into it before. I think on our podcast is my history started with a local grocery store that was right down the street from our house. They actually had a video rental or video game rental portion of it near the front of the store. And so, I mean, every weekend, if we could, I mean, I was having the parents take us there because it was cheap rentals. You know, we'd get a game for me and then a game for my brother Thomas because we were the only ones left in the house. And we'd usually pick the same games just about every weekend. I know I picked Fighting Force on N64, I don't know, 15, 20 times. And then Thomas picked StarCraft on N64 because that's a game you actually take time to play through. I just picked a game that, you know, I love beating the crap out of people.
So we actually own the rental copy of the Fighting Force because it got sold, and when they'd sell their games, they're all the same price, like $4.99, and Fighting Force was one we picked up. I do remember renting a Nintendo 64 game for like you and your friends, like with one of your like pizza birthday parties. It was Road Rash 64.
Yep, I remember that one.
So
yep, I remember that.
that was kind of a fun experience. I remember renting stuff for you occasionally. But I've got a couple of games, like I've got like my Samurai Showdown 5 came from that grocery store, and I've still got it. It's on the shelf back here somewhere. I might be able to even grab it.
So the rentals that I kind of grew up with was during Nintendo's heyday. Nintendo games were cool to see at the local Hollywood video store where I lived at, and the first rental game that we got was the Nintendo version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh hell yeah!
And me and Matt had talked about this before, and it's one of the challenging Ninja Turtle games. He was telling me that he would play his up to the point where you do the water dive and get into the diamond, and he said he'd be done.
I turned the system off when I got to the water park because I could not defuse the bombs.
So I tried to go through it, you know, with no cheats and everything. I get to where you going into the Technodrome, and I would just die. And then later in life, I decided, like, I'm going to beat this. So I popped in cheats, and I went through the whole game. I was like, I want to see what the ending is.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
You know?
I wonder, I don't know if that game's even like beatable without, you know, doing cheats for the average gamer. I mean, I'm sure there's like hardcore enthusiasts.
I'm pretty sure there's someone that knows.
Oh yeah, they know.
I can never keep all my turtles alive. I always use Donatello and Leonardo, and then I would always get stuck with Raphael and Michelangelo. The weakest out of the game was those two, you know. And you're like, oh, they're just cannon fodder. Try to run through enemies and get out of the way, you know.
Right. I mean, it's a fun game though. I mean, renting that, I was the crap out of that.
Huge into Ninja Turtles, so anything that had the brand, I was gonna be into.
So when my oldest brother and I would rent video games. This was before Nick was around, or our brother Thomas. This was been in the original Nintendo era. The first game that we ever rented for our system was California Games.
I remember that.
I remember renting it from Blockbuster. We enjoyed it for our like 5-day rental so much that Mom and Dad decided to get it for us that Christmas. But man, we did not rent very many video games as kids because Dad was afraid of getting bugs into our Nintendo. And I didn't quite understand that as a young child, you know, like bugs in the where are they going to come from? But
Was that a constant fear?
I mean, he instilled that fear in me.
Well, fair. I mean, that's our dad for you.
So this funny story about that, you brought that up. That's kind of a fun thing because when we got the Nintendo copy that we played, our Nintendo was somewhat brand new, but we put the Ninja Turtles, it was doing the whole flashy screen
And
thing.
you're like, I got this brand Nintendo. Why is it not working?
Yeah, and I remember my mom and dad sitting there and they're blowing into the game and everything. And it finally came to working. They thought it was a broken game. And then from there on out, our Nintendo just started playing like crap. It would just start flashing. And they're like, oh, we can't just put a game in anymore. And it would come right on.
Basically, what had happened is you had a dirty game and from a rental store that had been in dozens of Nintendos prior to yours.
Yeah.
And it contaminated
your
your Nintendo.
It got bugs.
It got the bugs.
Yeah.
Virtual bugs.
Yeah. So, but growing up with that, after later in years, after finding out that design with the Nintendo, that design, they made it to where they wanted it to look like more of a VCR because it was kind of a...
Well, they wanted it to appeal to a mass market as a toy.
Yes.
Because the video game industry in the early mid 80s kind of was tainted with the crash of Atari and stuff.
Atari, yeah. So they were wanting to try, like, oh, this is something we want to go with because it's going to be more ideal or aesthetically more pleasing for people to pick this up. So the design, there's some videos on YouTube, it shows you that the design was just not meant to last very long.
Right.
You get a brand new one, you'd probably get a year's worth out of it. And then you get to the point where you have your lockout screen or whatever it is popping up on there, and you sit there and constantly blowing your day on your cartridge, and then blow air into the system and do the up and down thing and slide it in and out. That was something that every kid has experienced during that time.
Oh yeah.
And then lo and behold, when Nintendo was actually on its way out, they did come out with the top feed one, which was
far and away better.
Yeah, it was way more better.
Yeah, that's like you just don't experience the same problems with a Super Nintendo as you did with the original Nintendo. It just, the longevity of the system is so much better because of that top loading mechanism where you're making proper contact each and every time. You're not, because basically when you're putting a Nintendo game in an original Nintendo with the front loader, you were bending the pins
to make it contact the game. So over time, those pins would just
work their way out and loosen up.
And you'll see them on eBay all the time. They'll get like OEM refurbished pin 72 pin connectors. They've taken a screwdriver, gone through and pry the pins back up and shine them back up, and then you still have the same dilemma over time with the design just breaks. There has been a couple of people that have pushed out replacement feeders for the side loaders that are actually pretty cool. I actually got one for my Nintendo. You can't push down on it; you just slide it in straight,
and then it
grabs. The worst thing about it has to death lock.
Oh no!
You have to like really get in there with your fingernails and pull it out as hard as you can to go and get another game, and that's the only flaw on it. But other than that, you slide a game in there, it comes right on. I don't have to worry about blowing into anything.
It's just a little, preventative maintenance. I guess you can keep yours going. It's just they weren't built for that.
That's a thing that we didn't really take into consideration back then is you had to clean your games on a regular basis. And there again, going back to the whole dad worried about getting bugs in our game system. He was like, no, we're not cleaning it with the alcohol swab. It's introducing a liquid into something electronic. He was afraid he was going to fry the games, but really in truth, a Q-tip and alcohol, I mean, that's
as long as there's no power involved. Then,
and Nintendo knew this, and they marketed their Nintendo cleaning system box that actually had the little slides that would go through. You would get them wet and with the connectors and stuff. And there was actually VHS tapes that actually show you how to properly clean a Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some some like department stores had it. The service merchandise. A friend of mine had gotten some old Nintendo stuff from a closing service merchandise store and pulled out one of those Nintendo tapes for maintenance tapes for the kiosk, the old Game Boy kiosk, and the Nintendo. Where I don't remember the name of the Switch, but it would hold like 10 Nintendo games, and you could hit the button to, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah. The
So
demo kiosk unit where you could just pick and choose which game you wanted to play.
It would let you have it for like 5 minutes or whatever. But there was a tape on how to maintenance that. And I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that, from a preservation standpoint, you want to put aside and make
Yeah.
sure it gets preserved for
Yep.
people to experience, in the future.
And some
So,
of those people have uploaded to YouTube, so you can actually go through and look at some of these old videos, and you're like, wow, really? They actually had to learn how to watch this and do all that? That's really cool. And, it's just, a lot of department stores would just have those tapes, and Nintendo's like, here you go.
Yeah, it's a piece of history because nowadays the newer systems, yeah, you can clean them and shape them up, but they don't advertise like here's how to clean your system, and like advertise it from the company or
Right,
whatever. I mean,
right.
you can
Yeah.
ship out a cartridge because I don't know if you still have it, but we picked up from a garage sale one of those. I think it was called like a Ninja brand
Oh,
Nintendo
gosh,
cleaners, or
yeah,
whatever, but it was
the
still
Ninja
brand
cleaner.
new, sealed.
Yeah.
And you got it for like $1 because nobody really wants the cleaner or whatever, but it just shows you
it was
it's
like
still
the
brand
generic
new.
cleaning kit for an original Nintendo.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It advertised as being universal, where it'd work with all systems like Sega Genesis, Master System.
Oh,
It was
cool.
gimmicky as hell, but
But
it's
it was
still
called the
brand new,
Ninja.
and it was like, oh,
Huh.
wow, somebody owned this, but obviously they didn't clean their games because it's still in the package.
And kind of, you said modern day systems. It's kind of like you have to go on YouTube to find out if you want to update your memory on your PS5 on how to take it off and put the new NVMe stick in there for extra room. If you run out of room, there's a whole video on how to take the plates off and everything like that.
No kidding.
But yeah.
So we obviously all rented video games.
Yes.
And we'd rent movies at the same time. It was kind of commonplace to get a movie and a game on the same weekend. But I mean, for me, I loved looking for wrestling tapes. And
Oh, yeah.
I had to go from grocery store to grocery store, video rental store to video rental store, because it always seemed like the selection of wrestling tapes was vastly different from store location to store location. Some were better than others.
Yeah.
But it never failed. At least every store had at least a few tapes, 5 or less. I know,
It's fun.
Yeah. So we were just having a conversation right before we started to record this that my phone always goes off when we podcast.
And I will.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
I'll
Well,
make it
what's
known.
happening
He was
right now?
very defensive that his phone never goes off. It is going
Yeah,
off
just
currently.
wait.
So
Now it's going off. I hear it rumbling.
I'm not wrong here.
That's
Not
great.
wrong.
So, like I was saying with the wrestling tapes going into the rental stores, so the Blockbuster that I would rent the wrestling tapes from actually had a little section called wrestling or sports entertainment, and they would have the Coliseum videos in there.
Right. Usually
And
they're mixed in with all
they're
the
mixed-
fitness videos.
Yeah.
Got Jane Fonda right next to
Yeah, Dave Fonda's workout,
Hulk
whatever.
Hogan, brother.
Yeah. And so, like, I would pick one of them that I would want to watch because I was big into WWE. So, the first one I ever watched from a Coliseum video was a Survivor Series.
Which Survivor Series do you recall that? I know when you get into like the 80s Survivor Series, they can kind of
So if I remember who was on the team, it was the Ultimate Warrior, Texas Tornado, and I believe the Rockers were both. There were all 4
okay.
on one team, and I think that was the one. That was the first one I watched.
It didn't have the gobbledygooker, did it?
No, I don't.
The egg hatch?
No, I don't think so.
Because that would have been 90. See, I remember things about Survivor Series. 91 would have been Hogan and Undertaker for the world title.
Yeah.
But I was thinking it would have been, if it was the Rockers, I would probably have thought it would have been like 90 or 91 or 92-ish. I don't know. It's hard to tell. But with him in Texas Tornado, that had to have been like 91 or 92, because I don't think Kerry Von Erich was in WWF until the 90s. Right? Does that sound right?
No, you might be right.
I don't. Yeah,
I have to go back through and try to.
It definitely wasn't Survivor Series 92, so it might have been Survivor Series 90.
Yeah,
or 91.
Yeah,
but either way, so your first was a Survivor Series. So
Yep.
I recall we had a mom and pop video rental store that's gone. Everything's gone out of business, called 9th Street Video, and they had just a handful of tapes. I remember them having WrestleMania 3, 4, in the first Survivor Series. I ended up buying, when they went out of business, the first Survivor Series, but the WrestleManias had already sold. But I did rent all 3 of them in the late 90s, like probably around like 97, 98, because that's when I was kind of in my heyday of watching wrestling. I mean, I watched started watching wrestling the night after WrestleMania 1996. And then I realized, oh, wait, I can go watch old stuff on VHS if I rent it. We had a place called Variety Video. They had an amazing selection of wrestling. I mean, I focused mainly on WWF stuff when I'd rent the VHS. I'd watch occasionally a WCW tape, but it was harder to find the WCW stuff.
Yeah.
But probably my most re-rented tapes would have been King of the Ring 93 and WrestleMania 9. I remember renting them multiple times, watching them over and over again.
Okay.
And still to this day, even though it's critically panned, WrestleMania 9 is my favorite WrestleMania. Probably because of nostalgia, because I go back and watch it all the time. Because that's the one that's infamous for Hulk Hogan sneaking in and winning the world title from Yokozuna.
Yeah.
Which, he was well past his heyday at that point and on his way out the company.
So I had been following WWE for a good while when I was younger, during the late 80s. So the first WrestleMania that I actually rented to watch was WrestleMania 6, which is the one that Ultimate Warrior won the world title from Hogan.
Right.
And I thought that was the coolest one I've ever seen.
Yeah, right. Well, that was a big match.
It was.
Because you had, two good guys facing off against each other, title for title. And it was ultimately what we thought as Hulk Hogan passing the torch on to Ultimate Warrior.
Yes.
But we quickly realized Ultimate Warrior wasn't really fit for being the heavyweight champion of the company.
It was kind of like, Vince McMahon was really pushing Warrior to be the next big thing in WWE at the time.
Right. Kind of like in 93, we thought we'd see Lex Luger be the next Hulk Hogan in the summer of 93. And then obviously that didn't work out.
I remember renting quite a few Hulk Hogan videos as well from the same, store I went to. It was more of Suburban Commando and Mr. Nanny, but it was they're wrestlers and
Suburban Commando. That was the one that had
was that Christopher Lloyd?
Yes.
Yep. And Shelley Long.
Yep. It had Hulk Hogan, Christopher Lloyd, Shelley Long, but it also had Mark Calloway, which we all know who was Undertaker.
Yeah, that's right. He was one of the headhunters or the bounty hunters.
Yeah,
yes,
bounty hunters. Yep.
Yes. The Undertaker was in that flick.
Because toward the end, they had Undertaker, like his character. He was talking. He said, "You're a dead man, Ramsey." He goes, "No wonder you guys never talk." He was like, they voiced him over with like a kid voice, and you're like, "Oh, that's horrible." And
I'm like, classic. It's a classic.
It is.
Was
it Mr. Nanny the one where it had the where he was wearing a little tutu and he's wrestling?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was a bad movie.
It was a bad movie.
It was terrible.
Of the two, Mr. Nanny's definitely the worst of the two, but neither one of them were that good. But
I walked home I went home with Suburban Commando like multiple times. I was a fan of that movie. I don't know.
Okay.
Another one. Sorry, another one that we that Hulk Hogan was in was, remember the Three Ninja movie?
Oh sure, High Noon at Mega Mountain.
Yes, he was in that.
Yep. So I was always a big fan of Hulk Hogan's acting. Even though I recognize how bad like Mr. Nanny was, but Thunder in Paradise is probably one of my favorite TV shows.
Yes.
Absolute favorites.
I used to watch that too. Not because of Hulk Hogan, but we all know that.
Yeah. Shows like that, they have a special place in your heart, even though they're not good,
Yeah.
They were great for the time. Yeah. It was hype around the actor, as well as it's just another action movie, if you will, just like everything that's in the theaters.
Yeah.
So.
It's like, it was a lot action movies then were just, I'd say not throwaway titles, but there was a dime a dozen, and you could always find something that was action packed, and it may not be the best thing, but you're like, as a kid, you're like, this is really good. I want to watch it again,
Yeah, like look at all the Seagal films. They're all pretty much the same, but a little bit different. And
well, yeah, you got like different eras of Steven Seagal. You got like Steven Seagal, the action man, where he makes a quick move and kills the guy, and then you got the era of Steven Seagal where he's sitting down.
Yeah. We all know that. Yeah,
he deserves to take a chill pill. How many people he's killed? Come on.
Probably sitting down eating a bucket of chicken somewhere.
doing his Krav Maga or whatever the fuck martial arts he does.
Either that or blowing his nose, one of the two.
Eating a carrot.
eating a carrot. But along the lines of like our shows and stuff like that. So growing up in the 80s was really cool for cable subscribers. So one of the very first pay-per-views I watched was WrestleMania 7. And that was a big one for me because during that era was the Iraqi War, and they had Sergeant Slaughter as
an Iraqi sympathizer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it had Hogan being the United States, coming with his American flag and his theme music coming in. That was the coolest WrestleMania ever. And that's the one I most watched out of all because I just grew up with it.
Really? I wasn't watching wrestling actively back then, but if they were really going to build on that whole, Sergeant Slaughter's a bad guy and Iraqi sympathizer, did he have a match with like leading up to WrestleMania with like Hacksaw Jim Duggan where he just like beat him down and, put him out of action for an extended period of time? Because that would have been perfect build up into Hulk Hogan stepping in and going, no way, brother.
Actually, I think there was an angle that was pushed during that. Did they actually use Hacksaw Jim
did
Duggan?
they? Okay.
I think so. If I remember right, there
because whenever you say pro wrestling in USA, I think of Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yeah, because
we all know toting in the big flag, the 2x4, and
a real American. I actually met him live at the Kansas City Comic-Con. I was sitting down, resting from walking around the venue, and he was sitting at a chair, and he was going past me to go to the bathroom on the other side. And I said, "Ho!" And he came by and he actually shook my hand and asked me how I was doing. And I thought that was so cool. I was like, "Hey, I just met Hacksaw Jim Duggan. That is so awesome." So, it's just like, growing up and seeing these wrestlers that you've idolized as a kid, you're like, "Oh, that's Hacksaw Jim Duggan, or that's Greg the Hammer Valentine, or Ric Flair." It's just like, wow, these guys were immortal during my time,
Right.
And as you get older and time passes, a lot of them is either passed on or just don't wrestle anymore. But our voices more than anything now, they kind of promote the business as it is. So
I guess backtracking around to the whole first pay-per-view experience, my first pay-per-view experience really wasn't a pay-per-view experience, but more of an education. I was hanging out with one of my good friends from like middle school. This was when I was living in Florida. And I remember him, we were doing something outside, whether it was playing basketball or doing something. I mean, we were just being kids, and we're at his house outside. His parents never let me come inside, obvious reasons. But they go, "Hey, Chris, it's time to come in. The pay-per-view's on." And he's like, "Oh man, I gotta go. The pay-per-view's on." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, he told me whatever the event was. I couldn't remember because I wasn't into wrestling. This would have been like 1994.
Wow.
And he's like, "Yeah, man, I'm gonna go in and watch this." And I'm like, "Wait, you'd rather watch that than hang out outside and play?" And now I understand. But then I was just like, is wrong with this guy?
Yeah, what's a pay-per-view? Why is
he leaving me to go watch something on pay-per-view?
You don't want to like hang outside and play, but you're going to go in and watch TV? Come on.
I didn't realize that, this was going to be, what he'd been watching for like a month, or, in 94, it could have been 3 or 4 months, because they didn't do a pay-per-view every month necessarily. By 94, WCW was introducing more pay-per-views and that sort of thing. But WWF only had like 5 a year at that point.
Yeah.
So it could have been like some big payoff in a storyline that he's been building up for a couple of months.
Yeah.
And I know it was in 94. I know it was like during the school year. So, and I think it was right before we moved to mid Missouri. So it's like, I'm thinking it was possibly even like Survivor Series,
maybe
94. And now, adult me understands why he ditched his friend, but then I was just like devastated, like, oh my God, what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
But like I said, I wasn't typically invited into his house.
It's just those big events, people, like NASCAR's got the 500,
Daytona 500, exactly,
big football games and stuff.
Right, the Super Bowl, that was their Super Bowl.
Wrestling
was their Super Bowl.
Yeah, wrestling was. Like,
maybe I got my timeline. Yeah, maybe I got my timeline wrong. Maybe it was WrestleMania they ordered. And if that's the case, I'm like, you dumb dummy. It was WrestleMania.
Yeah, WrestleMania. You know, that was a big thing for WWE. That was their that was their Super Bowl. That was something they promoted big time with. You know, and they always had the best matches, and that was always 3 hours long, regardless of every year.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of crazy to think how pay-per-views have evolved from being like a 3-hour thing and that being like, oh my gosh, we got 3 hours of wrestling. Now they're like a all-day experience, sometimes.
So the WrestleManias I had, like this past one that we had for WWE, it was a 2-nighter. It was a Saturday and then there was a Sunday night.
Right. And both days were like probably 6 hours a piece.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Takes up your whole weekend.
Yeah,
your weekend is like WrestleMania.
That's my wife is like, "You watching wrestling again tonight?" I'm like, "Yes, a 2-nighter." She goes, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I had my popcorn, go in there and watch my wrestling. It was the one I watched this year. I was so enthralled was the Cody Rhodes versus the Bloodline, which is Roman Reigns and his.
What did he wrestle both nights? Like there was a tag match on Saturday, and then the main event technically was Sunday night, where it was Reigns versus Rhodes for the title.
So there was a tag match that was done between Roman Reigns and Rock against Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes, and if Cody won, they would not have to worry about the Bloodline coming out and interfering. But if Rock and Roman won, they would have to run by Bloodline rules, which they end up winning. So it was a Bloodline match. So they actually had everybody come out and was just interfering and stuff. It was just a big build up, and I almost, from this, I was like, yeah, they're gonna push Cody Rhodes as the world title holder, and it did, and it was the way they built it up was just really cool. So they actually had John Cena come out, which was really cool. And then the last part of it had Undertaker come out.
Dude, they had like 7 run-ins that match.
Yes.
To me, it was just way too much.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I literally like that was me going, this is why I don't watch WWE as much anymore. This is why I don't watch it. Why is he coming out now? But I'm like an outsider coming in watching it because I don't watch WWE television on the regular. So I'm not understanding that all of these people in some way tie into this match one way or the other. I'm just like, well, this is kind of tainting Cody Rhodes' title reign, as there was 7 run-ins before he could win the belt.
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of wrestling, but when I think of like a rivalry, I think of just, head to head, whoever comes out on top or whoever they want to come out on top.
Well, the thing is the way they've built up Roman Reigns, if there wasn't those run-ins, Cody Rhodes would have never had a chance at winning that belt.
No. Okay. Yeah. Because I mean, Roman Reigns had the record for holding the belt for so many so many days.
It was multiple years.
Yes.
But it's one of the, I mean, in modern day history, it's definitely one of the longest, but it's a lengthy title reign.
Yeah, it was. And then
but that used to be commonplace back, like up until the, end of Hulk Hogan's first reign.
Even the Honky Tonk reign, he
as
the
Intercontinental
champion for so long,
Right. Well, that's the thing, is if you look at up until Hogan lost the belt in 88, Savage held it for only a year. And then guess who had it back? Hulk Hogan. And then, he passed it on to Ultimate Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Held it for less than a year. Mm-hmm. Then Sergeant Slaughter had it for a couple months, and then back to Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, the 88 reign of Hogan was like the end of an era of really lengthy multi-year title reigns, because Bob Backlund held it for multiple years. Who held it before him? Was it?
I don't remember.
Yeah, but anyways, what I'm getting at is typically if you're the world heavyweight champion, Hulk Hogan, 1988 and before, you held it for probably 2-3+ years before it was passed on to the next guy. And then we entered that era of, the 90s, where it was starting to be, like, oh yeah, you got it for 6 to 12 months. And then we got into the attitude era, and then it was like, he held it for 6 or 7 days.
Yeah, like 3 guys, it was either The Rock, Steve Austin, or
they just passed it back and forth against each other.
Or Triple
times.
H, this is like they just took turns holding on the belt, but
right. Now we're kind of reverting back to that era of lengthy title reigns. I mean, I don't think we've necessarily seen it as much in AEW with lengthy title reigns, but I mean, there's not been a champion that what you'd consider call a transition champion, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe the closest thing would be Samoa Joe, because he won the belt like in December and passed it on in like what, April?
Yeah, I saw that.
I think that might be well, actually, no, I take that back, because I think when did Swerve Strickland's title reign might be even shorter than Samoa Joe's.
Yeah, and then,
but those the last 2 title reigns have probably been the shortest title reigns in AEW.
I don't know if you remember the 24/7 championship belt that WWE had.
Yeah.
And so many people. There was some people that had it less than an hour.
Yes,
and then get beat up and get the belt. And one of the segments I remember from it was when R-Truth had it.
Oh gosh,
anything
R-Truth does.
R-Truth does. I love that dude to death. He is so awesome.
The only hot tag in Royal Rumble history.
Yes. Yeah, that was He could get wrestlers to break character because he was just so comedic.
Yes.
And we all know he tagged with The Miz, R-Truth and The Miz. They made their own tag team, and it's just when I watch him wrestling, he's a 57-year-old wrestler. He's so athletic, and he still does the 5-knuckle shuffle that Cena does. That's like, that was like that. Like his character is like, yeah, that's my favorite wrestler. So he's doing some of his moves, but.
So you're talking about his 24/7 title reign.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know anybody that's not a fan of R-Truth just because of, his on-screen character just comes across as so comedic and lovable.
And he goes in and he starts talking like he's sublime to everything, and then they're just like kind of looking at him like, what, but that's just his character though. He pulls it off so well.
Yes.
Yeah. Some of the funnier, the sillier gimmicks in WWE I just never got, but R-Truth's, I don't know.
Yeah.
He always gets me, dude.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So like during the 80s and 90s era, there was one of the most gimmicky WWE wrestler I watched was Doink the Clown.
Oh yeah.
Because he had Doink and he had like these little doinks.
Oh yeah. And there was 2 versions of Doink. There was the good Doink the Clown, and then there was the evil Doink. And Doink the Clown. And then, I never was a fan, but I'm not a big fan of clowns.
I did enjoy the double Undertaker match where they had
SummerSlam 94, where you had fake Undertaker versus
real Undertaker.
Yeah. So,
and we know who the fake Undertaker was being promoted by Ted DiBiase, which
because I think that was like the $1 million club or something, or $1 million. But basically that was when Ted DiBiase had recently retired from in-ring action due to injuries and kind of became a manager of his own stable. And I think his who did he have under? He had Sid for a while, because Sid challenged Diesel for the title in 95. But it lasted about a year plus of his stable. But if you looked at his stable mates, it was just like, how do these guys fit in there? Because you had like Sid, you had the fake Undertaker. IRS was in there for a while, which made sense because I was his tag team partner. But then you had like Tatanka in there. It's like, why are you in here?
You're just gonna put another random person in there.
It seemed like there's a lot of randomness. Kama was in there.
My gosh!
Yes. What was his? He went on to become the Godfather.
Oh, Papa Shango.
Papa Shango.
Yes,
I think he was Kama, the fighting machine at that time in 94, 95 era.
Papa Shango, and that was he's actually really good friends with the real life Undertaker, Mark Calloway. They were best friends. They would travel around doing these shows, and and even when the Undertaker came on board, when the first time that we ever seen Undertaker, that was the most menacing wrestler I had ever seen. And before that, he was Mad Mark Calloway before he actually became Undertaker. Mean Mark Calloway, yes. Mean Mark Calloway before he even did the Undertaker.
That was back in WCW.
Yeah. And then when he came as Undertaker, I'm like, this guy is going to be going places. He's so cool.
I love seeing the personas that they had before they went into like their badass persona, like Steve Austin, stunning Steve Austin,
blonde hair.
It's like what he became with Stone
exactly.
Cold.
Like back when he had hair, you're like, wow, that's him with hair.
That might be one of the biggest misses in WCW is they literally had Steve Austin under contract, and he became one of the biggest wrestling stars of the 90s. I mean, they let him go. They let him walk away from WCW. All they had to do was just kind of let him loose and let him do his own thing and evolve into the Stone Cold character on his own. Can you imagine how the landscape of wrestling would be if Stone Cold Steve Austin was, the rebellious good guy that everybody loved, and he started fighting and feuding with the NWO?
Oh, that would have been really sweet.
That would have been pretty sick.
Because technically it's kind of the same idea as what the NWO was, because or what they did in WWF with Vince McMahon and Austin.
Yeah,
because Bischoff was the VP, the vice president. He was in charge of WCW. He aligned himself with the NWO, and then you have this guy that is supposed to be a bad guy and does questionable things, but yet he recognizes that you're worse than me. So
yeah. It's cool because Stone Cold going over to WWE, that he kind of brought in the whole Attitude Era. He was the start of the Attitude Era.
Sure.
Like, he was the bringer of that. And then after his feud with Vince McMahon it's just like this whole WWE changed, Definitely the Attitude Era was born. We got to see The Rock and the Nation of Domination.
Oh yeah.
I remember Ron Simmons and D'Lo Brown. I remember then Mark Henry? Yeah,
Mark Henry was in there. The Rock was in
Yep.
Nation of Domination.
I remember that.
Clarence, what was Clarence's last name? I can't remember. The manager.
I don't remember his last name.
Yeah, and then they had the two little white rappers.
Oh yes, remember that. And then they had Undertaker had his group, the Brood.
That wasn't Undertaker's group. That was Gangrel's group.
Gangrel's group
with Edge and Christian.
That's right.
Yeah,
the Brood. I remember that.
Yeah, it seemed like that was a part of the whole Attitude Era. You had all these little factions. Yeah. You had the Disciples of Apocalypse, and you had oh my gosh, why can't I think of their name? The guy that was in the mask and always had the Cartman shirt on. The Oddities. The Oddities.
Yes.
You had Right to Censor, just all these little factions. And I think all that trickled off of, the how over the NWO was. And they're like, okay, we're in the faction era. DX was so big,
Yeah. Their whole reign when they went to didn't they drive a tank out to the WCW headquarters?
Yep.
That was a whole thing. I remember that.
Yep. Yeah, they totally. I mean, can you imagine if they got in the arena? What would have happened?
That'd have been funny.
That'd have been awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just changed, and it's gone back into almost fast tracking again. Now that we're coming up, that USA has now both live shows. You got SmackDown and Raw on USA Network, and then at the end of the year, Raw is going to be going to Netflix.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just taken off, and I think the Triple H is being the creative head of all that now. It's made it really good. Again.
Yes. Yeah. His creativity is
like he knows
through the roof.
He knows the business. He loves that business. So,
yep. Well, we've been rambling on about wrestling for far too long, and Nick's just been sitting over there holding his mic to his mouth.
I said
doing nothing.
Wrestling just wasn't a big part of my childhood.
Trust in that, brother.
All of my life, like you guys.
So we want you to educate us with some new stuff. Like, what are you into? Like, what do you want to talk about?
You into Pokemons, brother?
Hell no. I've never been a Pokemon guy.
Oh, okay.
I was Digimon for about 2 months while I watched the TV show when I was a child. But that also turned to garbage. I've recently been playing a lot of kind of party games. I'm always playing Zomboid. We talked about that a long time ago on the podcast. And
did you just say recently I've been playing Zomboid?
Again,
when have you stopped playing Zomboid?
I give it breaks.
I don't know anything about that one.
So it's like a very in-depth zombie survival game.
Okay.
It's almost like a zombie survival simulator with how many things you can add to it. The mod workshop, people are always implementing new things to make it as realistic or whatever you want to live your zombie survival ways.
Speaking of realistic, can you do a leg drop in the game, brother?
You can add that in there, yeah. You can do you can add anything, that's what I always tell people, because the reason why I got back into it is I joined a Discord group with all my friends from work. Shout out to them. and they all had Zomboid but never really got into it. And
Mhm.
so me playing 700 plus hours in the game, I finally got them into it. So now we got a group of 8 or 9 people, just kind of learning the game and playing and stuff like that. But every one of them, when they joined at periodic times, I'm like, all right, what's one thing you want to see in the game? Because I guarantee there's a mod of it, and I'll put it in there.
You've
And of
played that
course-
game for a solid month, brother.
Yeah, hey, and I still suck at it. So, but we're
I
learning.
don't know if you've caught up to my rest time though.
Oh yeah, and how are you doing at that? You got any skills at that game yet?
I've gotten better.
Really?
I do feel like I've gotten better at the game.
That's good.
I'm able to now kill people with guns.
Okay, so if somebody gives you an AK, what are you gonna do with it?
Give it back to them.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought,
Dude. The gun control I cannot handle on an AK.
Well,
I don't even like the MP.
how do you get better though?
I don't mind taking out a Tommy or
You practice with it.
I know. I do. I try, but it's just like
I get you get the gear fear. I get it, but
yeah.
I was watching a video about that. Someone was running around with the bow and arrow and was killing guys with the bow and arrow.
oh yeah, Some of the
Dude, I'm
clips-
dangerous with a comp bow.
Mm.
I'm
It's
dangerous.
a
with
primitive
a comp bow.
sniper, you know.
Yeah,
Mm.
As long
I'm
as you're good
dangerous with
with
a
it.
comp bow. So Project Zomboid.
Yeah,
we knew
playing a
that.
lot of that.
What's that new Magic set that you were messaging me about?
Oh yeah, the pre-release just happened last night. That's the new Duskmorn. That's what it's called. But it's all
Do you
like
play
horror
Magic?
themed.
No, the majority of the guys I hang out with at work that play that. I've been playing Star Wars Unlimited.
Okay.
Oh,
But
okay.
but I have a good amount of people that I work with that play Magic, and they all went to that pre-release.
Really?
Ah,
See, I've never.
Yeah.
I mean, I've dabbled in Magic every now and then. Obviously, Matt and our brother Thomas play the crap out of it.
Yeah.
I just
thought
had
you
never
called me
been.
Madden.
Well, you're basically what you are. Vanilla sports game. No, but
Let's go make us a Durkin. I'm hungry.
All right. So I just never got into the deck building and owning all the cards and stuff like that. So I enjoy playing it. And so recently I got into Magic Arena, which is the digital,
Yeah.
version.
Yep.
Because I was big into like Hearthstone, really pretty big,
Yeah.
and Marvel Snap and stuff. So I enjoy the deck builders that are on phones or digital.
Mm.
So I got into Arena and I was playing that, and then our brother Thomas showed me like the teaser of all the cards that are coming out with Duskmorn, and I was like, I freaking love 80s horror movies or any horror movies in general. So seeing a card just labeled chainsaw with like blood splatter, I'm like, I gotta have it.
I gotta have it. Yeah.
Well,
And,
they've been coming out with a lot of sets that got tie-ins to other franchises. Like there's an Assassin's Creed Magic
There's
set.
the Fallout one that I still want to
They
get
did
cards
Lord of the
for.
Rings.
There's a Street Fighter one too.
Yep,
I saw.
My buddy Brian, he was talking to me about.
Of course, when
building a
they do
Street
like
Fighter.
the secret layer drops or whatever,
Yeah.
I think there's a Ghostbusters one coming out.
Oh man.
But it's just like they're like collector pieces. They're not like really
Yeah, and
playable
that's more for
cards.
me because I enjoy playing, but I'm not going to go out and spend hundreds of dollars just to build the perfect decks to play in competitions and stuff. That's just not me.
So
Yeah.
my biggest gripe with Magic evolving over time is it's just become overly complicated with new mechanics, new things introduced, and it's not the Magic I remember playing in the mid 90s. Like I was actually messaging our oldest brother. It's like, yeah, I think I really want to, I mean, minus the dual lands, because I'm not going to go and buy dual lands, but I kind of want to just like put together a play set of revised, that I guess they call it like 4th edition, where basically I can go and make any deck I want out of revised, because those are the cards I played with when I was in my youth.
Right.
That's what I remember playing with. And when by the time like Homelands came out and the sets thereafter, like Alliances and that sort of thing, I was starting to kind of check out of Magic, because I'm like, this is just getting more complicated than I want. So, and even then, if you compare then to now, it's like, holy cow, I thought it was getting complicated at Alliances.
Yeah.
I mean, even when I played a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh, it got to the point where you couldn't even read the text on the card because it's just a freaking 3 paragraphs. I'm like, I don't even know what this says, so I'm not worried about
I
it.
have my collection of Yu-Gi-Oh cards that I had back when
Really?
the Exodia deck was popular. I still have a lot of those old cards.
See, like I had a Joey's deck that I think I still have, but I mean, I never bought a bunch of cards for that either. So
I was the last AEW event that we got together for. I was talking to Brian. He's been on the show with us. He's a big Yu-Gi-Oh player, or was. He says, "Yeah, I sold everything. I'm done." He goes, "I can't stand the game anymore because it's unplayable."
Well, and that's my thing too. Is when it comes
I think
to
our brother went through that too with Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah,
he was a big Yu-Gi-Oh player for a while.
Right. I think he was already out of it by the time I was playing it, and so he was helping me build decks because I'm terrible at building decks, but he wasn't like currently playing or anything. He just had
Yeah.
the know-how.
Yeah.
But I'm not the one to make the meta deck, or make the
Yeah.
deck that's just going to win every time. I can't stand that. So that's why with this horror stuff coming out, I'm like, I'll make a horror deck. That sounds cool.
Yeah,
as
I want to
hell.
have. That's the thing is we're so casual players when it comes to games like Magic that we just want to have fun with it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not in it to win a bunch of competitions.
I'd rather
or
just
win
sit
a bunch
around
of tournaments
a table and play with my friends around the table
Yeah.
versus
with a deck that I have fun with.
and be very casual.
Yeah.
I don't want to play against somebody that has been playing for the past 20 years and can come up with like some crazy combo out of a single pack of cards. I want to play with the guy that is at my skill level where it's just like, I just want to have fun for an evening,
Yeah.
And I just don't think, I think that Magic has gotten so far away from that fun interaction that it's just become more and more of a competitive thing. It's kind of like video gaming to me, in my opinion,
Yeah.
where, people aren't playing video games to have fun and relax. They're playing video games to
How quickly
have a job.
Yeah. How quickly can I beat this and put?
Yeah, you
content
got either the retro speed runners or you've got the competitive online players playing your PvP games, and it's like, while I do like playing them, I'm not playing them in so competitively that I'm taking away the fun factor.
That's the thing, though, too, is you're going to get tryhards in every game you play.
Sure.
Doesn't
Yeah.
matter what it is.
It doesn't
You say
matter.
it doesn't matter.
Even Fortnite, where everything is just cosmetic, people are going to pick those certain cosmetic skins that make them a little bit harder to see or make their hitbox a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Any which way they can to be meta at the game, there's those people that will, and they
Same
ruin
thing-
the fun for all of us.
It's the same thing for Call of Duty. It just seems like
Yeah.
there's just, it's a beta, but yet you got these
you're talking about the new
tryhards.
Black Ops.
Yeah, you got these tryhards that get on there and I think it's some sort of multi-million-dollar tournament, so they're going to play the hardest. I'm like, it's a beta. Your stats are not going to be worth nothing really, and it takes away from the fun factor.
Yeah,
because I remember playing the very first Modern Warfare, and I was like, this game's a lot of fun. I'd play with my buddies. We get on and just joke around and have fun. And it got to the point where it's just like newer ones that just dripping so sweaty with people getting on there doing tryhards, using the move mechanics to manipulate, getting their shots off, or this bunny hopping thing. I was just like, this takes the fun out.
What drives me the most nuts when I was playing this new Call of Duty beta is the slide mechanic.
Yes.
I haven't played a Call of Duty in ages. Like the last time I was like good and competitive at a Call of Duty game was World at War. That was like 2008.
Yeah.
But when
was a very
somebody is
primitive
literally
style.
like jumping through the air and then sliding, and we're like, this is like an online simulator type shooter, and I'm just like, nobody can do that in real life.
And this goes back to when they put out like Black Ops 3, I think it was, the one that our dad was into for a really long time. But in that one, they put like wall running in it.
Yes.
That's why I stopped playing the game, because I'm like, there's people running on walls, sliding around stairs and stuff. It wasn't realistic at all.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so far from what Call of Duty is.
Mine last one that I played really hardcore on that I got really good with was the first Black Ops.
Yeah, that was a good one.
It was the Vietnam one, and then or post-Vietnam one. It was, I just got good at it, but after that it just it started dying off.
But it goes back to Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 1. I think that's what you mentioned a second ago. I remember going to our local LAN place that they called Virtual Arena. It's out of business now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But when that game first came out, I was there one of like the opening weekends, and every person in that place was playing Call of Duty 4, and it was all preset classes. You couldn't build your own custom class of weapons and stuff. So everybody's using the same guns and everything, and it was the most fun. Like everybody's having a great time.
Playing field.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
Even a kid like me, who was like 14 at the time, was keeping up with all the 30-year-olds because everybody's on the same playing field.
Yeah.
Right.
You didn't have some guy that ran around with the AK-47 that was this new
whatever
shots,
the meta
was running,
whatever.
or the M16, or even the bolt action sniper rifle that can just pull up really quick and
360
shoot you.
no scope.
Yeah, I'm like, what is this? And you're like, what? This makes no sense. You're using a sniper rifle.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I enjoy Rust so much, is because it always starts off on a new wipe as a level playing field.
Yeah, it's one of those games where in the end, everybody's on the same playing field. Yeah, he has an AK, you have a rock, but you could get that AK if you time your rock swing precisely.
Right.
There's a chance for everybody.
I've gone from a spear to an AK set.
Yep.
I literally have done that in a game.
I love games like that. Like games
Yep.
like PUBG, you know, that was my first one that got into it. I mean, obviously Fortnite, but
Yeah.
you know, everybody starts with nothing. And then whatever you drop, that's what weapon you get. So even if it's a revolver with a couple of rounds, like DayZ, you know, you can make those rounds get you a whole gear set as long as you know how to play, know what to do. So,
You know, I find myself being older now that I enjoy playing PvE stuff more than doing against players. Like I have gotten over 300 hours worth of time in Helldivers 2 because it's PvE. You're basically
Yeah, I definitely prefer a PvE game versus
going
PvP.
in with your buddies.
Yep.
You have your loadout.
Yep.
You're powerful, and you're taking on hordes of either robots or terminids, which is the bugs. So it gives you that whole, like, you know, Starship Trooper vibe when you're taking on the bugs. So,
oh yeah,
you know, they just buffed a bunch of stuff here recently this past week, and they brought a lot of stuff back that would made it good when it first launched. And I can tell you this, played it last night. I had so much fun playing with my brother-in-law. I felt overpowered. Like I felt like I'm going in and killing a bunch of bugs. I don't feel like I'm being overwhelmed. There's no balances. You're not doing any PvP stuff. You're basically fighting against a AI, swarms of enemies, and you're having fun doing it.
I'm just trying to do as much damage as possible.
Exactly.
Right. You're the oldest brother.
I'm the oldest brother.
Yeah, I haven't played with the new like mechs and stuff they released, so I want to get back into Helldivers.
Yeah,
and try out all the new stuff.
But you were talking about Zomboid, and you know, the one that I got into for zombie shooting was the Left 4 Dead series on Steam. When they came out, me and my brother spent hours playing that.
Mm-hmm.
We would play different characters, and I remember when 2 came out, we pre-ordered it and got the baseball bat.
Oh yeah, I remember. I remember the pre-order for the baseball bat.
And I remember it kind of tied in with the one from the first one.
Like it was an actual baseball bat?
It was a
in-game baseball bat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, that'd be a cool pre-order bonus.
Oh yeah.
But I remember the swarms of like zombies that, you know, they had a witch zombie that she would scream, and then shortly after you would have a whole bunch of them start coming after you. And the witch could kill you like with one hit, you know.
I liked Left 4 Dead, but I didn't like it as much as I thought I would like it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
I thought I was going to enjoy it a lot more than I did.
But still played it.
But I still played it, yeah. I didn't play the second one like hardly at all. But I do remember it coming out because I was working at a GameStop at the time, so it was a big deal for people to pre-order it because they wanted that baseball bat DLC. I don't know. I love DLC, but I don't love the state it's in right now.
No, I don't either.
But I liked it when it actually meant something, when they actually added something to a completed game instead of sending you out a game in pieces.
Here's us finishing it.
Yeah. Here's us finishing the game that we started, you know, here's the rest of it. Oh, by the way, it's another $14.99.
Yeah, like I was talking to my friends about this, do you guys remember the first DLC you ever bought?
Yeah.
Let me think about it. I'll let Jeff go and then I might think about it.
The first one I ever bought, I think,
was
DLC. Halo 2
really?
DLC.
Halo.
Which one was that?
Yeah,
the multiplayer map
like
pack?
the map packs.
The map packs,
of course.
Okay.
And then later on they released Halo 2 with the map pack DLC on a disc. It was physical.
Right. That's the one I had. That's the one.
Disc. That's the one I remember. Yes.
Yeah. For all our listeners and not viewers.
I guess this was my first DLC too because I bought the map pack
disc.
So I could download it and have 9 all new maps for multiplayer.
Yes.
Hey, some of them are really
features.
Good. Yeah.
I can't remember what the big Spire one was, Requiem or something.
Yes,
that one I played the big team battle.
I got
was
good
so much
at using the DMR and the dual needlers in that game.
Yes.
Oh, the dual needlers were so cool.
I was a dual SMG guy.
Oh yeah,
I loved them
were
SMGs.
Good. Yeah. Then you had the guys that run around with the shotgun.
Oh yeah, the sniper. You know.
Yeah.
So for a collector tip on the original Xbox, if you want to buy the most valuable version of the multiplayer map pack, it comes with a triple pack of Halo, Halo 2, and then the cardboard box makes it quite valuable. This is pretty cheap by itself, and then the other games are cheap by themselves. But if you can get that triple pack, thing goes for some bucks.
So what about you, Matt? Oh, go on.
Oh no, I was gonna say is like, so you remember your DLC?
Yeah. I was gonna say, Matt, do you remember your first DLC yet?
I mean, like I said, that it was probably that Halo, but I was trying to think of something early on otherwise.
Man,
so
I just could not. I can't think of anything earlier than that for me.
So for me, for me, mine was a little bit later than original Xbox. It was on 360. But obviously, you know, I'm a big zombie fan. So me and my brother, our brother Thomas, we played through the World at War campaign all the way through. And if you beat the campaign, we beat this right around Christmas time because the game came out mid-November. So we were playing it on Christmas break. It was right before Christmas. We beat the game like in the middle of the night. And if you beat the game, it immediately jumps you to Nazi zombies.
Yes.
You know, there's a
Yes.
little cinematic thing, but you're like, what is this? You know, and Nazi zombies wasn't even a thing at this point. There's no new zombie games out besides Left 4 Dead coming out soon, I think.
Yeah.
And so we were like, what is this? And so we fell in love immediately. And we played it was just one map, really small, you know, but I fell in love with that. So when the first DLC for World of War came out, which had 3 or 4 multiplayer maps and then one new zombies map, I was like, I have to get this. So that was the first one. I paid $12.50, and I was like, just for one zombies map, just so I can get a new experience.
When that hit, and I actually, well, a friend of mine told me about it, so I beat the campaign and played the zombies, and I was like, I want to play the DLC, and I ended up playing the DLC. I'm like, this is really cool. I like this.
The hype behind World at War Zombies for me, I bought every DLC the day it came out because of zombies. Wow. With my friends and everything, we were all like staying up together until midnight until it launched, staying up till 4 a.m. playing it. I mean, wow. But Nazi Zombies just isn't what it used to be, unfortunately. So
yeah, and I remember the Easter eggs from Black Ops because I played zombies on Black Ops. I remember there was a spot where you would have like I can't remember her name, but she would like you would get a song.
Yes,
and I remember that.
I missed the small Easter eggs. Now in the newer levels, you have to do the Easter egg to even beat the level or to get farther because they made it like part of the storyline. It's like that's not what an Easter egg is. It's supposed to be something fun just to find.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's interesting that that was something that you got into.
Oh yeah, I still love Nazi Zombies, the old stuff at least. But man,
I was always the type of person that wanted to wait for the game to be in its completest state and then come out with like a Game of the Year edition.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I love the hype. I've always been a hype guy.
Speaking of Game of the Year edition, do you remember the first Borderlands game? It had a Game of the Year edition that came with the DLC as a disc.
Yep.
So you could
remember that.
I remember buying that and getting the DLC disc.
But at the same time, I bought the Zombie Island DLC for that when it first came out because of the zombies.
Yeah.
So I guess a 360 era DLC I bought would have been the one for Red Dead Redemption, the Undead Nightmare.
Undead Nightmare? Okay, I got the standalone of that for Christmas.
Undead Nightmare. But
that was probably one of the best
Red Dead. That was the thing is like the DLC I bought was always like in disc form.
Yeah.
I've always been a physical media collector, and if it didn't come out on disc, I typically didn't buy it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have obviously since got into some digital extra content because like a lot of the content that I have on SnowRunner, it's all download extra content, you know, the seasons and that sort of thing. Because I love SnowRunner, but you know, as a rule, yeah, I mean, if it wasn't like released in some sort of physical manner, I don't have it.
Yeah. Yep. Do you remember the digital DLC for the first Splinter Cell game that came out for the OG Xbox?
I do not. I didn't play Splinter Cell.
It had a couple of extra missions.
Okay.
So, I know behind us somewhere I've got one of the Rainbow Six games. I have a separate disc, and it's got like multiplayer maps on it and that sort of thing. And you know, obviously that might be the only way to legally obtain those now, but I'm sure somebody's preserved them online some way, shape, or form. But.
Yeah, there's a group that actually took the DLC and actually compiled it onto like a live service to where you have to use their IP and you connect to them and you can download these DLCs that they've kept up, you know, and a lot of them are not even that big.
So that's the same way they're booting up old servers for games that they've shut down too. Yep. So you can play like, you know, Halo 2 online on their own servers instead of actual Xbox servers.
Yeah, there's people out there trying to relaunch their own version of Xbox,
which is amazing.
Original Xbox. So
I remember the very first Halo game had multiplayer, but it was only local.
Yeah, it was local only. Yep.
But there was
I think you can system link.
You could system link. There was a system link thing you could do back in the day. If you had internet connection and a system link, you can run the game through GameSpy. It's like a tunneling service that would allow you to like connect outside internet with someone else's Xbox, and so you could play multiplayer with another Xbox on this tunneling system with GameSpy running on your computer. But you had to make sure you were running the client on your computer to be able. So you had a crossover cable. They had like the input going thing. You had the crossover cable for connection with that, and then it would use that to search for someone that actually has that running, and he would play multiplayer with someone that actually had an Xbox running that game.
That's probably how I seen it, because I remember back when I was playing Halo 2 on original Xbox Live, my good friend down the street, Justin, he was a PC gamer. And I remember, telling him, like, oh, if you want to come over and play Halo 2, and he's like, oh, I'm playing Halo 1 on computer online. I'm like, Halo 1 didn't have online, and I didn't even know it was on computer. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm playing on Blood Gulch right now. I'm like, not Halo 2? What? It made no sense. And I went over and seen him, like, oh, this dude's playing Halo 1 on the PC online.
On the PC online.
And PC online, yeah. So
like,
he's probably
what the
using a
hell?
GameSpy tunneler that was probably helping him connect. But yeah, I had my ex-roommate had one set up. He was running a GameSpy tunneler for the first Halo. And we got a chance. It was not the best service in the world, but it allowed you to play against some other players.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting.
That's cool.
So we were just talking about DLC, and Jeff brought up Splinter Cell, and I was like, man, that rings a bell. But so what I'm looking at here is I got two different discs from the official Xbox magazine, probably one of the greatest magazines ever, because it came with a disc in every issue. And literally these discs were jam-packed with cool stuff like videos of upcoming games, playable demos, save states, so you could like start levels with like max stats and that sort of thing. But one of the biggest things was there was sometimes DLC on here. And looking at these two discs in particular, we've got the February 2004 and the March of 2004 issue disc, and the February one's got a new Splinter Cell mission that's right here on the disc. So you pop this disc in and download the content onto your Xbox hard drive, pop in your copy of Splinter Cell, boom, you've got another level of Splinter Cell from buying your Xbox magazine subscription.
I remember that.
And then the March disc has what it says, download the final installment of Splinter Cell. So literally like the last extra DLC. And this is like extra content onto a finished game. I can't stress that enough. It's not, hey, we left this out so we could release it later.
Or we planned to release it.
Or we planned to release it with the game.
I mean, they probably did, but
they weren't finished with it, and they already had the game in a finished state. And then they're like, hey, why do we add this? And then boom, they gave it away within a magazine subscription.
How much was a subscription to Xbox magazine?
Probably like $20-$30 back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably was more of the higher end of that, like $25-$30, because it came with the discs. But I remember subscribing to it and paying between $20 and $30 for a 1-year subscription. That's a demo disc every month and a magazine every month.
I'm just
good
saying,
magazine.
Like DLCs, like one mission DLCs nowadays are like at least like $10 a piece.
Right. And here's 2 months back to back
of
Splinter Cell content.
Yeah. DLC.
This is 2004. I mean, Splinter Cell was a little bit, when that game came out? 2002?
Yeah, I think
so. I mean, early 2004. So the game was just a touch over a year old.
But it was huge.
But it was
look
a
at all the
huge game.
spin-offs,
Yeah.
or
Right.
not spin-offs, sequels.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
and look what you could do with the disc. You could hack your system with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, DLC content used to have good intentions.
Yes.
And it's veered so far off, and these big companies have just looked at it now as just like a cash grab. It's like, here, buy our $90 game. And then
we're gonna nickel and dime.
Now we're gonna nickel and dime you to death with all these skins and all this other stuff.
A lot of it's cosmetic.
Yeah, it's either way. Either it's here's us finishing the game that you're gonna have to pay extra for, or here's just a bunch of cosmetic crap that means nothing.
Yeah,
it's like where's the real content?
Yeah, that's one frustrating thing about playing Rust on console is it's like, how about you guys put more focus into fixing the problems with the game instead of adding to the skin store?
Yeah. Like you're going to take the time to add stuff that doesn't pertain to fixing the game or make you even better.
Well, in some cases, the skins will break the game.
Yep.
I
just will never forget when the skin store like first came out on Rust console, and literally the game didn't even work for like a week or like a couple of days, but the skin store worked.
Oh yeah.
They got that down.
Yeah.
Like, quit working on the stuff that makes no sense. It's just to make you money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it is what it is. We're not going to change anybody's minds.
No.
So.
It's just the way that.
Well, we talked about our first video game rentals. We talked about wrestling for a great length, didn't we, Nick?
Great length of time.
Yeah.
Talked about some DLC content and we'll touch
some
Zomboid.
Touched on some magic. Anybody got any final thoughts before we kind of wrap things up?
kind of want to play some Zomboid. Sounds kind of good.
Is that why you're like rushing us? Like,
I gotta
hey,
play some-
I gotta go to bed, guys. I gotta work tomorrow,
Yeah.
and I gotta have time to play
Zomboid.
Zomboid. You know.
Actually, kind of makes me want to break open my Xbox and play Splinter Cell again because I think I have those DLCs on my Xbox.
Well, I mean, I do have like the entire run of demo discs for the original Xbox. I don't have them in the, unfortunately, I don't have all of them in the nice. This was the retail version. So, like, if you walked into a grocery store or anywhere that had a magazine rack, you'd get the magazine in a bag with the long case. But if you had the subscription, you typically got like the little tiny like sleeve, the disc size.
Okay.
I have the entire run of Xbox demo discs from the magazine during the original Xbox era. So I've got it from whenever the magazine started, like in 2001 up through like 2005. And then I have a lot of the 360 discs, but I kind of started to lose track of them, you know, over time. And I need to eventually pick that up. That'd be a kind of a nice little kind of subset, if you will, to collect for when I kind of run out of Xbox 360 games to buy, which I'm getting close to running out of titles because I do have over 600 360 games.
Yeah, it's surprising because I remember you'd pick up any and every 360 game you saw.
Yeah. I need to do something with all my sealed games and kind of transition those over into open copies to play, because at this point I'm not going to open them. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but I'm not going to open them. It's been, you know, when you got a game that's been sealed between 15 to 20 years already, it's like you don't want to be the one to tear into it, rip it open when you can preserve a brand new copy of the game. You know, for somebody else that's probably going to appreciate it more than you are, even though I have the history with it of buying it brand new.
Yeah.
So
it's like keeping a car garage. You know, you've been taking care of it for somebody else to enjoy.
Yeah, I'm good at preserving things, I guess.
I know I know we've talked about maybe next time we do another shoot we can do the Snatcher gun.
Oh yeah, we've been talking about doing a Snatcher video.
I have a good friend of mine that watches this YouTube channel that we do stuff for. He sold me a Justifier and it works really good, and I used it and tested it out on Snatcher. Works great.
And I've got a friend that has a physical copy of Snatcher if we really want to get down to the nitty gritty of it.
So I know we had done some stuff with light guns for the PlayStation,
and we got more to come with that.
And I figure some of the old like 16-bit air light gun games would be kind of cool to go over.
Plus, I love that cyberpunk style stuff. So
I'm all for it. And I was looking through because you started playing Snatcher
just on the controller
with the controller through my emulation device, and I busted out the my modded PS1 with the the memory card slot instead of a disk drive. I don't know what to really call it.
Yeah,
whatever. X Station or I think is what it is. But I was looking through the ROM list I have on there because it was kind of like pre-configured for me because I'm stupid. There is an English dub version of Police Knots on there.
Okay,
for the PlayStation.
All right.
Okay.
Which is the spiritual successor to Snatcher.
Okay.
So
we'll have to give that a go.
That a go. Yeah. Okay. So I guess I got a good way to kind of end this podcast episode, if you will. It's kind of weird to say because we haven't done a podcast-esque recording in quite some time, essentially since we started doing the videos. I just want to give a shout out to everybody that has watched a video, left a comment, subscribed, you know, done anything to interact with us in any way, shape, or form. These past few months of doing the YouTube thing have been wonderful. It has kind of broken me out of my shell of creativity. It's got my wheels turning, my brain thinking, and and things to do, and new ways to edit. I mean, this is a learning process for us, and it's been a lot of fun. A special shout out to everybody that jumped over. I mean, I can't believe somebody of his stature in like the retro gaming world would take the time to give a shout out to a little channel with a couple hundred subscribers. But Retro Rick shouted us out, and so thank you for everybody to taking the time to come over and take a look at our channel, because we do appreciate it, and we just want to make sure everybody knows that we appreciate that. And like I said, the people that leave comments, thank you, and keep them coming. We welcome anybody and everybody, and we love to interact with the people that take the time to watch our show, because we enjoy what we're doing. We're having fun. We're having a lot of fun doing this.
And shout out to these guys here that's given me a chance from my previous podcast that I used to do that was not video, but kind of stopped cold turkey, and then was kind of missing talking every weekend and find something to talk about. So getting on board and doing one with these guys has been fun. I do appreciate it.
No, we've enjoyed having Jeff along,
most definitely,
and hopefully that he can continue on the ride with us as we kind of build this channel up. And
we've got tons of ideas for stuff to come.
It's just a matter of
the stuff for you guys.
Yeah, we had a lunch today and we was spitballing ideas back and forth. And we got a lot when Matt was saying that maybe we should start putting these things on a list and start going through them,
and then prioritizing what we think we should do next and that sort of thing. I mean, ultimately, what's next is we got to get started shooting on the next episode of the PlayStation, GunCon specific episodes, because we've got a couple more episodes. We've got a lot more games to share with you. We've got another device to share, and
we even went on a field trip, so we got footage of that for you guys.
Oh yeah, we got a field trip to a local place that is a lot of fun, and we've got to get that footage put together. Jeff and I have been shooting stuff together, more so like pickup videos, which you've seen this past video, and depending on when this comes out, the next video as well. And I've got like some little tiny like passion projects within passion projects that I'm working on myself that not sure I want to release, but showed it to the guys and seen what they thought. And, I think I got good feedback. I don't know. I'm having fun with it.
Yeah.
Hey, we're all having a good time. That's the main thing.
That's the thing is like, we don't see this as a job. We see this as something as a passion project, and it's something we enjoy doing.
Right. That's what I was touching on. We enjoy making the content for all of you guys that watch and listen. So anything you want to see, please let us know. Otherwise, we've got tons of ideas for crap we think you want to see.
Like I said, if you've gotten this far in this podcast, and you're still listening, and leave us a comment.
We love you.
Send us your feedback if there's something you think that we should cover, or if you've got an idea for us, and it's just a case where you can't do it yourself, and you're like, I'd love to see somebody do this because I haven't seen it before. Feed us some ideas too. We got open ears, so
definitely
we're here ready to listen.
Definitely.
So, well, I think we're going to end it with that. So I will go ahead and cue our music that we don't get to listen to very often anymore because we don't podcast as much. But maybe we'll get more of a routine of doing this. And I get to learn how to extract the audio from this video, and that'll be fun.
Yeah.
How I can
definitely
get
learning process.
No, like I said, I wanted to do this just because it's a way of learning. And then this is us building towards, maybe when we start reaching closer to that 1,000 subscriber mark, which, isn't too far off. I guess we're right around 600 as of the recording of this, and which we're very grateful for. But as the channel grows, we want to start working into doing maybe a live stream, and that way we can do like live Q&A with, fans of the show and people that want to interact with us, and we'll just kind of build and go from there.
And if you like the podcast format, we've got a lot of episodes over on Spotify. Only a couple here on YouTube so far, but we're going to keep putting out all the newer ones on YouTube.
Right. I think what the plan is for me to go ahead and do this in video form as we do podcasts. So it's on YouTube, and then probably extract the audio out of this video footage and work its way back into the old format where we were just specifically on like Spotify, and go from there. So
cool.
Well, with that, we are open by accident. We appreciate you guys,
and we'll see you next time.
There it is.
Remember, I'm the big brother.
The only big brother. I'm the only oldest brother. How many older brothers do you have, brother?
Put your oldest brother in the comments.
Let's hear of all your oldest brothers.
Unless you are the oldest brother, then we thank you for your comment.
Only oldest brother.
things we find entertaining.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, I mean, earlier today I took a simple picture of my brother and his friend, and somehow made it amusing.
Yeah, it's true.
I never seen my friend laugh so much.
He was hurting.
That face was just, yeah, I could see.
It hurt. It hurt.
Yeah.
It didn't help that I just stuffed my face with food.
Yeah,
brother.
yeah.
But
Fried chicken, brother, and mashed potatoes. And gravy.
Little meatloaf for you.
Soft serve ice cream.
Tonight we're going soft serve.
Yeah. Oh,
all the fixins.
yeah. Just remember that. All the fix.
You can trust in that, brother.
Yeah. And all the sweet tea you can drink.
Snuck in that trust in that, didn't you?
Trust in that, brother.
Trust in that, brother. Oh, gosh.
We're going to name this episode Brother.
Testing the water. Testing the water, brother.
Only the oldest brother.
Yeah, only the oldest
Only
brother.
the oldest.
Only the oldest brother.
Yeah. That's great.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Can you say that one more time, Jeff?
I'm the oldest brother.
No, you said I'm the only oldest.
Okay. Okay, hold on. I'm the only oldest brother.
Some of the things that we find amusing just baffles me.
I know. We're not grown. We're not grown men. We're just grown children.
Yeah, literally.
Oh,
Oh my.
no.
So, anywho, open by accident. Man, this sounds so different.
Does it?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's been a while since we've recorded a.
It looks like Nick's holding a sippy cup over here. What the heck?
You know, you could just like grab it. Yeah.
Yeah. Give me that. That's mine.
Give me that. Give me that, brother.
This Sunday, brother.
Brother.
How many brothers do you have?
I'm the only oldest.
I'm the only oldest brother.
Oh no.
We good?
I think so.
Okay.